Emma and Leo's Magical Forest Adventure. Once upon a time, in a small village at the edge of a wide, friendly forest, there lived a young girl named Emma. Emma loved the outdoors more than anything. She would spend her mornings listening to the birds sing, her afternoons chasing butterflies, and her evenings gazing up at the sky, watching the clouds drift lazily by. Emma's favourite companion was her neighbour and best friend, a cheerful boy named Leo, who always knew how to make her laugh. One summer day, Emma and Leo decided to explore deeper into the forest than they ever had before. The forest was known to be peaceful, filled with tall trees, wildflowers, and the gentle rustle of leaves in the breeze. There was no danger in the forest, only mystery and endless discoveries waiting to be made. With Leo carrying a small picnic basket and Emma with her trusty journal for drawing and writing, they set off down a path they hadn't taken before. The path wound past the fields they knew well and led into a denser part of the forest. As they walked, they could hear the rustle of small animals, a squirrel chattering, a rabbit hopping through the brush, and birds calling to one another from high up in the trees. The sunlight filtered through the leaves, casting dappled patterns on the forest floor. It was the kind of day that made everything seem magical, even without any spells or wands. After a while, Leo pointed ahead. "Look, Emma, there's a clearing up there," he said, his eyes wide with excitement. They hurried towards it, their feet crunching softly on the forest floor. As they stepped into the clearing, they found themselves in a beautiful grove surrounded by the tallest trees they had ever seen. In the middle of the grove was a pond, its water so still that it reflected the sky above perfectly. Emma knelt by the edge of the pond, dipping her fingers into the cool water. "It's so peaceful here," she said, her voice barely a whisper. Leo sat down beside her, opening the picnic basket and pulling out a loaf of bread and some cheese. They shared their simple meal by the pond, enjoying the warmth of the sun and the sound of the breeze rustling the leaves. As they finished their meal, Emma noticed something curious. On the other side of the pond, there was a patch of flowers unlike any she had seen before. They were tall, with petals of every colour, red, yellow, pink, blue, and they seemed to sway even when there was no wind. Emma felt a tug of curiosity, and without a word she stood up and walked around the pond to get a closer look. Leo followed, and as they approached the flowers they saw something even more surprising. Nestled between the flowers was a small door, no taller than Emma's knee. It was made of wood and decorated with tiny carvings of animals and vines. Emma and Leo exchanged a glance, their eyes wide with wonder. Who could have made such a door, and what could be behind it? "Should we knock?" Leo asked, his voice filled with excitement and a hint of nervousness. Emma nodded, her heart pounding with curiosity. She reached out and knocked gently on the door. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the door creaked open, and out stepped the tiniest man they had ever seen. He was no taller than a rabbit, with a long beard and a friendly smile. He wore clothes made of leaves and flowers, and he looked up at Emma and Leo with twinkling eyes. "Well, well, visitors to our little grove," the tiny man said, his voice high and cheerful. "My name is Thistle, and I am the keeper of this grove. What brings you here today?" Emma and Leo looked at each other, then back at Thistle. "We were just exploring," Emma said. "We didn't mean to disturb you." Thistle laughed, a sound like the tinkling of tiny bells. "No disturbance at all. In fact, it's been a long time since we've had visitors. Would you like to see something special?" Emma and Leo nodded eagerly, their hearts filled with excitement. Thistle gestured for them to follow, and he led them around the pond to a spot where the trees grew close together. He tapped one of the trees with his tiny hand, and the branches parted, revealing a hidden path that wound deeper into the forest. Emma and Leo followed Thistle down the path, their eyes wide with wonder. The path led to another clearing, even more beautiful than the first. In the center of this clearing was a circle of stones, each one carved with symbols that glowed faintly in the dappled sunlight. Around the stones danced tiny creatures, fairies, their wings shimmering in every color of the rainbow. They laughed and sang as they danced, their voices blending together in a beautiful melody. Emma and Leo watched in awe, hardly daring to breathe. Thistle smiled up at them. "This is the heart of our grove," he said softly. "A place where the magic of the forest is strongest. The fairies only dance when they feel truly happy, and today they dance for you." Emma felt a warmth in her heart, a feeling of pure joy that she couldn't quite describe. She reached for Leo's hand, and he took it, both of them standing side by side as they watched the fairies dance. The world seemed to slow down, and for a moment there was nothing but the music of the fairies, the warmth of the sun, and the beauty of the forest around them. After a while, Thistle led them back to the pond. The tiny door was still open, and Thistle turned to them with a smile. "Thank you for visiting our grove," he said. "You are welcome here any time, but remember, the magic of the forest is not just in places like this. It's in the kindness you show, the joy you share, and the wonder you carry in your hearts." Emma and Leo nodded, their hearts full. They said goodbye to Thistle and watched as he stepped through the tiny door and closed it behind him. The flowers swayed gently, as if waving goodbye, and Emma and Leo knew that they would never forget this day. As they made their way back to the village, the sun was beginning to set, casting a golden glow over the forest. They walked hand in hand, their hearts filled with wonder and joy. They knew that they had found something truly special, something that they would carry with them always. But their adventure wasn't quite over. As they reached the edge of the forest, they heard a soft rustling behind them. They turned to see a small creature, like a mix between a rabbit and a squirrel, with soft, fluffy fur and bright, curious eyes, peeking out from behind a tree. It had followed them from the grove. The creature hopped forward, and Leo knelt down, extending his hand. The little creature sniffed his fingers, then nuzzled against his palm. "Look, Emma," Leo said, his voice full of wonder. "I think it wants to come with us." Emma smiled, her heart swelling with happiness. "Do you want to come home with us, little one?" she asked gently. The creature made a soft chirping sound, as if in agreement. Emma picked it up, feeling its soft fur against her skin. It was warm and light, and it snuggled into her arms as if it had always belonged there. When they reached the village, their parents were waiting for them, worried that they had been gone so long. But as soon as Emma and Leo began to tell their story about Thistle, the fairies, and the magical grove, their parents' worry melted into amazement. They listened with wide eyes as Emma described the fairies' dance and the hidden path through the forest. When they saw the little creature curled up in Emma's arms, they couldn't help but smile. That night, Emma and Leo sat by the fire with their families, sharing the story of their adventure. The little creature, whom they decided to name Whisk, curled up on Emma's lap, its eyes slowly closing as it drifted off to sleep. As the fire crackled and the stars twinkled outside, Emma knew that this was just the beginning of many more adventures to come. When it was time for bed, Emma placed Whisk in a small basket with a soft blanket. She watched as the creature snuggled in, feeling a sense of warmth and peace. As she climbed into her own bed, she thought of Thistle's words. How magic was not just in hidden places, but in the kindness they shared and the wonder they carried in their hearts. As Emma closed her eyes, she could still hear the faint melody of the fairies, feel the warmth of the sun on her face, and see the shimmering wings of the dancing fairies. She knew that the magic of the forest was always with her, and that as long as she kept her heart open, there would always be new adventures waiting just beyond the trees. And what about you, little dreamer? If you found a tiny door in the forest, would you be brave enough to knock? Remember, magic is all around you if you only take the time to see it.